Shocking truth, younger brother treacherously snatches birthright at midnight. The clock struck 12, its chimes echoing through the darkened halls of the old Hastings estate. A heavy chill hung in the air, as if the very walls were holding their breath. Under a blanket of shadows, teenage Jamie Hastings stood trembling, heart racing like a wild animal in a trap. His older brother, Alex, loomed before him, a masterful puppeteer pulling strings in a twisted game of betrayal. Beneath the surface, something felt very wrong. A flicker of candlelight danced, casting eerie shadows that seemed to watch, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. "Did you hear that?" Jamie asked, his voice barely a whisper above the creaking floorboards. Silence thickened around them, interrupted only by the distant hoot of an owl, a reminder of the wildness lurking just beyond the estate's gates. The tension crackled like electricity, and Jamie could almost taste the fear as it settled in his throat. He rambled on, awkward and anxious. "We're supposed to be together, to look out for each other." But Alex had already gone too far. Their father will lay sprawled on the table, its secrets like cracks in their brotherly bond. Alex's hand, cold and shaking, reached toward the paper. The promise of everything they were led to believe was about to slip away like water through their fingers. What would Jamie have left? Nothing but betrayal and darkness swirling in his gut. Fill the gap. Fill the void. An animal instinct shrieked in Jamie's head. "No. Stop!" he yelled. But the words hung uselessly in the frigid air, as Alex's grin spread wide, smug and sinister in the flickering candlelight. "Too late, little brother," Alex breathed, the words like poison. And then it happened, a sudden thud, the candle flickered violently, plunging the room into deeper gloom. Jamie's heart dropped, the room spun in that split second, a decade of arguments, laughter, and misguided trust collapsed like a fragile house of cards. The lines were drawn. The betrayal was real. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the distant rustle of leaves outside, as if nature held a collective breath. Jamie's chest tightened, an icy grip of dread swept through him. "What have you done?" he demanded, voice trembling. His brother simply laughed, a haunting sound echoing off the walls. Suddenly, a loud crash came from outside, sending them both diving for cover. The sound of heavy footsteps followed, like thunder rattling the house's very foundation. "Jamie, I think we're not alone." In that moment, the room swelled with fear and uncertainty. What was coming for them? Who was lurking in the shadows, ready to unveil a secret darker than the night itself? The walls seemed to close in, and Jamie could feel the darkness suffocating. His body screamed for action. But what? A flicker of hope danced at the edges of his panic. Maybe, just maybe, they could uncover what lay hidden, both in the walls of the estate and within each other. If only they weren't already running out of time. The pounding footsteps grew louder, reverberating against the walls as Jamie and Alex exchanged frantic glances. Fear churned in Jamie's stomach, mixing with confusion and anger. "What are you hiding, Alex?" he hissed, trying to keep his voice low. The shadows seemed to lean in closer, listening. "Shut up!" Alex snapped, his eyes wide with panic. "This isn't the time. We need to figure out what that was." With a swift motion, he slid the will back into a drawer, face taut, muscles coiling with tension. Jamie's heart raced as if it were trying to escape his chest. The heavy footsteps paused just outside their door. Jamie held his breath, his throat dry. A creak announced a slow, deliberate entry, like a predator stalking its prey. And then he saw it the glimmer of a knife, sharp and menacing, held by a figure standing in the threshold. "Who is there?" Alex shouted, losing the last remnants of his control. Jamie stepped back, driven by an instinctual need to retreat, to hide from this new threat. The stranger's face was obscured in the darkness, a silhouette against the faint candlelight. But Jamie could see the glint in their eyes, and his gut twisted. "You boys shouldn't be playing with things you don't understand," the voice intoned, low and rumbled, like gravel rolling down a hill. "The Hastings family has secrets and they're mine now." Jamie's breath caught, fingers trembling as he inched closer to Alex. "What do you want?" he croaked, words barely escaping his lips. The intruder took a step forward, the blade catching the flickering light, sending a jolt of panic through Jamie's veins. "I'm here for what's rightfully mine," the figure replied, voice laced with an icy thrill. "And the two of you? You're in my way." The air thickened, a palpable dread hanging over them. Jamie glanced at Alex, their fragile bond already faltering under the weight of their father's betrayal. In that moment, the truth loomed larger than either of them had imagined. The darkness surrounding them wasn't just in the estate, it seeped into their souls. "I want to let you do this," Alex spat defiantly, raising a hand as if to challenge the looming figure. But Jamie could read the tremor in his brother's voice, a flicker of doubt that hadn't been there before. The intruder let out a low chuckle, as if savoring the tangled web they had spun around the brothers. "What will you fight with? Words? Lies? You both wear your guilt like a shroud." With that, the figure lunged forward, knife glinting, reflecting a chilling resolve. Jamie's heart raced, instincts flaring. Everything surged in a desperate rush, adrenaline, panic, a desperate survival instinct. "Run!" he yelled, only to find his own feet rooted in place, paralyzed by fear. A crashing swing reverberated as Alex, with a surprising burst of bravery, lunged forward to protect Jamie. The intruder's laughter rang like a death knell, echoing through the empty halls. In that instant, the world spun. Jamie saw flashes of their childhood, the games, the laughter, all shadowed by the darkness creeping closer. The walls once echoing with memories of love now echoed with threat, betrayal thickening in the air like a foggy night. "Help!" was all Jamie could think of, the words stuck in his throat, choking on the reality crashing down around them. The edges of their world turned darker, the shadows pressing them into a corner. Now, more than ever, Jamie knew, they had crossed a line. The clock was ticking, and they had to uncover truths buried deep before it was too late. Just then, the lights flickered, and the entire estate groaned like a beast awakening. What lay hidden beneath the surface began to bubble to the top. Just how far would they go to protect their birthright? And what sinister forces had been unleashed? A deafening crack of thunder shook the house, plunging them into darkness. In that moment, Jamie realized, the real battle had only just begun. The darkness closed in, smothering Jamie like a heavy blanket. The air was thick with fear, and he felt the panic clawing at his throat. He blinked rapidly, trying to adjust to the absence of light, but all he could sense was the looming presence of the intruder. The knife glinted ominously even in the dimness, a reflection of their dire situation. "Alex!" Jamie whispered, the sound barely escaping his lips. "Here!" came his brother's strained voice from a few feet away. Jamie could barely make out Alex's silhouette, too tense and immovable, still facing the direction of their assailant. The laughter from the stranger was chilling, a sound that twisted something deep within Jamie's gut. "Why are you doing this?" Alex shouted, desperation tinged with anger, trying to mask his fear. "You think you can come in here and threaten us? We won't go down without a fight." The intruder stepped forward, and Jamie felt the urge to bolt. "Fight? Oh, dear brother," the voice taunted, cold and mocking, reverberating in the pitch black. "You don't even know what you're up against. This goes beyond your pathetic family feud. This is about what lies buried within these walls." Jamie's mind raced. What did that even mean? What was buried within these walls? He needed to think, to find a way out, but fear paralyzed him. The echo of thunder just outside turned deafening, mixing with the heavy silence in the room. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the space, casting brief, eerie shadows. For a split second, Jamie caught a glimpse of the intruder, a figure cloaked in dark attire, eyes gleaming with malevolence and purpose. The knife seemed like an extension of their arm. Split-second terror struck Jamie, and he stumbled back. "Get away from him!" Jamie finally managed to scream, as adrenaline surged through him. With newfound resolve, he ran to Alex, hoping that together they could find a way out of this nightmare, but the intruder was swift, darting forward. Jamie's heart stopped as he felt a cold wind rush past him, followed by a sharp clang as something metallic hit the floor. He turned to find Alex grappling with the assailant, the knife now clattering away, skidding into a dark corner. The move startled Jamie awake, pulling him into the fray. "Grab the knife!" Alex shouted, breathless. "We can't let him." The intruder regained footing, spinning around with desperate fury. As Jamie dove, he felt an electrifying surge of panic and focus. This was fight or flight, and his body was screaming to survive. The skillful body of the figure slipped through their grasp, and Jamie's own momentum caused him to fly past. In the blink of an eye, the intruder was gone, melting back into shadows, leaving only the chilling absence behind. "Where are you?" Alex snarled into the dark, eyes scanning for any sign of the menace that had invaded their home. "Alex, we can't stay here," Jamie urged, his voice high with urgency. "We need to find a way out. We need to know what is going on with our family, with this estate." But just as hope flickered, the ground shook beneath their feet as if the house itself were protesting their presence. The lights flickered violently, illuminating walls adorned with portraits of the Hastings family, all blissfully unaware of the treachery soon to unfold. A door creaked far down the hall, chains rattling ominously. Goosebumps peppered Jamie's skin. The darkness felt alive now, as if spirits slumbered beneath layers of dust and secrets, awakened by the tension rolling through the estate. "Move!" Alex urged again, a new fire dancing in his eyes. Jamie followed, fear slipping into determination. With each step deeper into the estate, they were drawn closer to the truth, whatever it may be. But just as dread settled in, an otherworldly whisper from the very walls reached their ears. "You should not have come here." Caught between revelations and danger, Jamie grasped his brother's hand tightly. There was no turning back now. What awaited them in the depths of the Hastings manor could be far worse than they ever imagined. And just then, the lights extinguished completely, plunging them into an abyss. What awaited them in the dark? What sinister truths had they set into motion? Jamie squeezed Alex's hand, the grip tightening around shared fear. The dark pressed in, heavy like wet earth, making his heart pound like a hammer against his ribs. He could barely breathe, the air thick with dread, and then a faint sound. There it was again. A whisper, low and insistent, curling around them. "You should not have come here." The voice coiled through the shadows, sending shivers racing down Jamie's spine. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, his throat dry. "Of course, I did," Alex hissed back, his voice a blend of defiance and apprehension. "We need to find a way out, now." With trembling legs, they moved toward the origin of the sound, each footstep weighed down by the silence that enveloped them. The walls felt like they were leaning in, holding secrets, pressing memories into the shadows. Jamie's pulse raced as they stumbled into a dimly lit corridor, the flickering of the lights just enough to reveal faces and figures from the past. The Hastings family, staring down at them with expressions forever frozen in time. Were they sensing the danger? A loud crash echoed somewhere in the distance, and Jamie flinched. He dropped to a crouch, heart pounding like a war drum. What was that? "Keep moving," Alex urged, tugging him forward. They hurried down the corridor, each step echoing ominously from beyond the edges of the light. As Jamie's hand brushed against the wall, he felt a cold chill seep through the cracks, sending an involuntary shudder through him. What was happening in this house? Too many questions swirled in his mind, blocked only by the overwhelming sense of dread. Suddenly, a door slammed somewhere behind them, and they froze in their tracks, eyes wide. They weren't alone. "We need to find a phone," Jamie whispered fiercely. "Maybe we can call for help." "What if he's blocking the exits?" Alex asked, scanning the shadows. Fear flared in his eyes. A flash of lightning illuminated a door at the end of the corridor, a massive oak, splattered with age and mystery. Jamie felt a pull towards it, as though it beckoned him, promising answers. "Let's check that one," he suggested, his voice barely above a murmur. "Are you insane?" Alex replied, but even as he said it, he followed Jamie. Cautiously, they crept toward the door, the wood groaning softly under their weight. The whispered warnings danced around them, taunting, relentless. With a deep breath, Jamie placed his hand on the handle, feeling the cool metal against his palm. He turned it slowly, wincing at the creak that pierced the hush. The door swung wide, and a wave of stale air washed over them, bringing with it the smell of dust and rot. It was a room frozen in time, a study, stacked with books, and papers strewn across the desk, but something was off. A sinister energy pulsed, palpable and static, as if the room held its breath. "Look at this," Alex breathed, picking up a crumpled paper from the floor. Jamie peered over his brother's shoulder as Alex smoothed it out. Rows of names peppered the page, family names dating back generations, and at the top one name was circled, bold and annotated. "Hastings. What does it mean?" Jamie asked, his heart quickening. "Maybe this has something to do with what the intruder said," Alex replied, frowning. "What's buried? What if this is?" A sudden bang shook the walls, making the lights flicker violently. "We need to go," Jamie shouted, adrenaline flooding his veins. They stumbled backward, retreating into the shadows once more, but as they turned to escape, the door slammed shut behind them with an ominous finality. "We're trapped," Jamie gasped, panic clawing at his throat. "No," Alex shouted. "Stay calm. We'll find a way out." But the whispered shadows grew louder, weaving through the air around them, until one final voice broke through, harsh and spiteful. "You shouldn't have come here, but now, you must pay what you owe." The lights flickered one last time, and Jamie felt the ground beneath him tremble. In that moment, both brothers knew they were not just fighting for their lives, they were wrestling against the very history of their family. What dark truth lay hidden within those walls, waiting for them to unveil it? And why did it feel like the house was coming alive, ready to claim its next victims? The moment the door slammed shut, the room took on a sinister life of its own. Shadows twisted and danced, crawling along the walls like hungry hands reaching for them. Jamie's heart raced, pounding in his ears, drowning out the whispers that echoed all around them. "Think, Jamie. We have to find a way to." Alex's voice trembled as he searched for an escape. His fingers brushed against the desk, knocking over what looked like a dusty globe. It rolled off and smashed to pieces, shards scattering across the floor. The noise amplified in the trapped space, and for a split second, the whispers fell silent. Then, as if stirred by that very sound, the chaos returned with a vengeance, shouting threats that hung heavy in the air. "You achieved what no one ever could. Buried secrets mean buried lives." "Shut up," Jamie shouted, driven by the thrum of fear and anger coursing through him. He glanced at Alex, whose face was pale, a sharp contrast to the darkness swirling around them. "What do they want from us?" Alex's breath hitched in his throat, his gaze darting to the names on the crumpled paper. "It's a list, Jamie, a list of families that lived here. All have lost something, but why are we part of it?" "They lost something," Jamie echoed, piecing the gravity of their situation together. Are we next?" A low rumble reverberated through the room, almost like a warning bell. Jamie looked up as cobwebs hung from the ceiling swayed slightly, as if something loomed above them. "We can't just stand here," he yelled, glancing around for any way out. Every wall around them felt closer, oppressive, as if the house sought to swallow them whole. driven by desperation, Jamie leaned against the wood paneling, his fingers probing for an escape route. There has to be something. A hatch, a secret. Just then, a small handle caught his eye, barely visible amidst the aged decor. Over here. Jamie yanked at it, his breath caught in his throat, praying it would open. Alex leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. What if it's worse? Worse than whatever this house has in store for us? Jamie shot back, urgency bubbling into hysteria. He twisted the handle hard, feeling the cold metal bite into his palm. With a click, the panel creaked open, revealing a narrow tunnel leading into darkness. Are you kidding? Alex's eyes widened. You want to crawl in there? It's better than waiting for whatever has its teeth in us here. Jamie yelled back, adrenaline buzzing in his veins. He crawled inside, pulling Alex along behind him. The damp earth and musty smell engulfed them, echoed by the sound of their hastening breaths. They crawled, the passage twisting and winding, each turn amplifying their sense of dread. Just when Jamie thought they had escaped the whispers, a voice echoed in the tunnel, low and mocking. You think you can leave? You are part of the legacy. Your blood is tied to this house. Just ignore it. We'll find a way out. Alex panted, his voice shaky, but the whispers continued to crawl into their minds. What was buried can never stay hidden. Remember, the house remembers everything. A price must always be paid. Jamie felt a cold sweat trickle down his back. What did we bring with us? He asked, panic rising. What if they're right? What if suddenly, the walls around them began to vibrate, forcing their bodies against the damp earth? Keep moving. Alex shouted, pulling Jamie forward, but each forward inch felt like another chain was binding them to this house. Alex! Jamie yelled as the space around them began to squirm. I can't breathe. It's gonna be okay. Alex yelled back, though his own voice betrayed the fear seeping in. Then, with one final push, they broke into a larger chamber, the passageway opening up into a dimly lit room. The air was colder here, filled with the stench of decay. And there, amidst the debris, they saw the family portraits fading, but unmistakably alive in the flickering light, eyes tracing every move they made. What now? Jamie whispered, grasping Alex's arm tightly. As if to answer, the walls seemed to pulse, and a distorted face emerged in the shadows. Amongst the portraits. Your time is running out. And the debt it is due. A spine-chilling scream erupted from somewhere behind them, echoing off the walls. It sounded hauntingly familiar. Run! Alex dashed forward, but Jamie felt rooted, eyes wide as the paintings shifted, morphing into something grotesque, something familiar. Something seemed to whisper, icy and inviting. Will you claim it before it claims you? Jamie stood frozen. So many questions raced through his mind, but one loomed above all others. What did they have to sacrifice to escape this nightmare? And as he turned to Alex, the realization hit him like a punch. They weren't just fighting for their lives anymore, they were entangled in the very legacy of the Hastings family. What would they have to confront to truly unravel the horrors gripping them? The chamber's walls pulsated like a living being, shifting with the low thrum of dark energy. Jamie felt a wave of nausea wash over him as the haunting whispers scratched at the back of his mind, fraying his nerve. We have to go. Alex shouted, yanking Jamie's arm. Just as Jamie turned to follow, the distorted face in the shadows grew clearer, stretching into a mockery of a grin. The laughter echoed, chilling and hollow. You can run, but you cannot hide from your lineage. You are already part of it. No. Jamie yelled, pushing himself forward. The urgency drowned out the voice, if only for a moment. They stumbled deeper into the dimly lit room, where portrait frames cracked and jagged like teeth, revealing only fading visions of a family that had long since turned to dust. Each face bore an expression of desperation, trapped in a cycle that he and Alex had unwittingly entered. Suddenly, the flickering light illuminated a thick, weathered book lying on a pedestal. It was stained, pages yellowing with age. What is that? Jamie whispered, feeling an odd compulsion to approach it despite the looming dread. It looks important, Alex said hesitantly. But should we really risk it? Against his better judgment, Jamie reached out. As his fingers made contact with the book's cover, a sharp jolt coursed through him, like electricity surging beneath his skin. The whispers around them intensified, a cacophony of voices chanting incoherently. Jamie! Alex grabbed his arm, panic etched across his face. Get away from it. But the book was already drawing him in, a gravity that hummed with untold secrets. There is something inside, Jamie said, fighting the pull. I can feel it. We have to know. Stop. This is a trap. Alex's voice slid into desperation. Maybe it's the key. Maybe it'll explain why we're here. Jamie protested. He flipped the cover, the pages crumbling slightly as they opened. As the first sentence came into focus, the whispers fell into a cold silence, leaving an echoing stillness. The Hastings family, bound by blood, are forever marked by their sins. To break the chains, a sacrifice must be made. What does that even mean? Alex breathed, horrified. It means there's a way out. But a price. Jamie could feel a knot tightening in his stomach. Jamie, don't. Alex shouted, trying to pull him back, but it was too late. The shadows around them twisted violently, as if the house itself was angered. What blood will you offer? The voice boomed, reverberating through the air. It dripped with malice, promising outcomes both great and terrible. I want to let them take you. Jamie shouted, grappling with the book, trying to shut it, but the shadows tightened their grip, forming claws that closed in on him. A sudden thought struck Jamie hard. Did they need to offer themselves to survive? What if it's not just my blood they want? He yelled, locking onto Alex's terrified gaze. What if we both need to know? Alex screamed. His hands shook. We'll find another way. We can't. Before Jamie could respond, the echoes of the house swelled again, a terrifying wave that propelled them backward, slamming them against the cold, unforgiving wall. The portraits around them warped and howled, the faces pleading for something beyond their grasp. Whatever the cost may be, do you dare to gamble your lives? The voice hissed, an eerie sweetness layered with malice. Jamie felt the darkness close around them, like a noose tightening. An idea flickered in his mind. The house wanted something from them, a reveal, a trial, and perhaps they both had the answer, but the question gnawed at him. What were they willing to sacrifice to escape the twisted legacy woven into their very beings? Just then, the voices erupted again, rising to a deafening crescendo. Jamie gasped, eyes wild, as a new realization washed over him. They weren't just stuck in a house, they were ensnared in a curse. Alex, he started, panic lacing his words. What if we are the last ones who can break this? As the darkness surged, the book began to glow, radiating a soft light that momentarily distracted the shadows. Jamie had to decide, face the truth, or succumb to the darkness. The book whispered to him, urgency building in each word. The end is approaching, the choice lies with you. What will it be? The chamber trembled, and the whispers turned to screams, echoing a choice that loomed larger than their fear. Would they fight the darkness together or risk it all to uncover the truth? The air thickened, closing in like a living entity that thrived on their fear. Jamie could feel his heart racing, pounding like thunder against his ribcage. The light from the book flickered, each pulse casting shadows that danced menacingly along the walls. Jamie, Alex said, voice trembling as he backed away, you don't have to do this. We can find another way. But Jamie was already lost in the swirling words on the pages. The stories soaked into him, erupting like a specter ready to spill its secrets. This could end it all, he murmured, mesmerized. Whatever it is we're up against, we need this knowledge. Knowledge or doom? Alex countered sharply, his eyes darting to the dark corners of the chamber. The laughter echoed louder, swirling around them like smoke, taunting them with ancient shadows. The book unveiled a chilling truth that cut through Jamie's obsession. The Hastings family's only salvation lies within sacrifice, he read aloud, unaware of the grave implications in his words. Those who seek to escape must willingly yield what binds them to their past. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Alex's voice rose, tinged with panic. We've lost enough already. Don't you see? The sacrifices made before us were blood-stained and tragic. We aren't like them, Jamie. The wails of the portraits grew frantic, as if they were begging for life. Jamie's grip tightened around the book, each word drawing him deeper into the abyss. But what if it means freeing them? He pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, writhing with renewed fury. A choice must be made. The voice boomed, drowning out their protests. Who among you will be the first to pay? Jamie flinched, the weight of impending decision crashing over him. The walls seemed to pulse with heavy anticipation. He looked at Alex, the harsh contrast of determination and terror in his eyes. What if we both offer ourselves? Jamie said hesitantly, the word striking like a match in dry grass. No. Alex shouted, bolting toward him, that's insane. We can't. We can't sacrifice ourselves. We'll be trapped forever. Jamie argued, realizing how close they were to losing control. The chamber rattled as if responding to their struggle. What if it's the only way to break this curse and save those who came before us? Stop! Alex shouted, but his voice drowned in the rising winds of the house, the howling winds crashing against their fragile resolve. You're not thinking straight. It's not just my choice. Jamie screamed back, wrestling against the draining shadow that was beginning to seep into his very being. Do you really want this place to take us like it did the rest? The blood runs through our veins too. If we don't act, we'll simply become another part of their legacy. But as Jamie spoke, something twisted in the corner of his eye. A half-faded face emerged from the shadows, a woman's visage in agony, one of the tragic ghosts frozen in time as part of the family's dark history. You wish to break free. Her voice drifted hauntingly. What are you truly willing to give? The shadowy arms reached for them, dubiously inches from grasping either of them. Jamie felt Alex freeze, fear spilling across the space between them, pulling taut like a bowstring. I can't, Alex whispered, his voice shaking, I can't let you do this alone. For the first time, doubt flickered through Jamie's heart, a deep, gnawing pit of uncertainty. He turned back to the book, its light dimming under the weight of their turmoil. Only blood can break the cycle, it murmured, drawing them closer to despair. A gasp escaped Jamie's lips. What if we don't just surrender? What if we fight and take command of this power? What if the whispers turned into an angry roar, the walls closing in on them, making a choice feel impossible? Sacrifice or rebellion? They stood on the precipice with darkness swirling, demanding their allegiance. Time ticked down, the throbbing energy swelled, leaving no room for hesitation. Fate hung in the balance, and with a promise of hell looming large, Jamie cast a final glance toward Alex. Are you with me? The answer was somewhere in the shadows, waiting to plunge them into chaos. And for a fleeting moment, Jamie caught a glimpse of what lay beyond fear. But would it be enough to break the curse? In the roaring silence that followed, they could only hope the choice they were about to make would not seal their fates forever. What strength lay hidden within them? And would it be enough to turn the tide against their ruthless ancestor? The darkness pulsated like a beast, wrapping around Alex and Jamie as they stood at the brink of a horrifying choice. Jamie's mind raced, thoughts spiraling like a whirlwind. He looked at the page before him, the words now a grotesque reflection of reality. Blood, sacrifice, power. Were they ready to unfold what the truth demanded? First one to pay, he whispered, absorbing the weight of the sentence. The voice in the room roared back, claws of shadows extending to them. There's got to be another way. Alex pleaded, but his eyes, wide and desperate, betrayed the fragility of his hope. What if it isn't just a sacrifice? What if we can use it? Jamie shot back, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The air felt electric, charged with opportunities and dangers, beckoning them to make a move. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, the outline of a tall, gaunt man. His features were hazy but intense, eyes glimmering with a knowing madness. "You want to reclaim your birthright? Such power comes with a hefty price," he intoned, laughter spitting like fire. "Stop it!" Alex screamed, his voice shaking. "You are sick. We want to be part of this madness." But Jamie couldn't shake the lure. What if this is the answer to everything? What if we harness this power to break the curse? The figure leaned closer, an eerie grin curling his lips. "The Hastings family can never escape their blood. You think rebellion will save you? It will only bind you further." A chill ran down Jamie's spine, and his grip on the book slackened momentarily. "No," he gasped, "we can fight it. We want to become part of that legacy." Suddenly, a scream echoed the sound of centuries-old anguish, a mix of despair and wrath. "You think you can escape your fate?" The walls trembled, responding to the ghosts that clawed at their reality, trapped souls bound to the sins of their ancestors. "Go!" Alex yelled, backing toward the door that seemed to loom far away. "We have to leave." But Jamie stood frozen, torn between fleeing and facing the abyss. What if this is our only chance to take back what they stole? His voice trembled, but it was laced with a fierce determination. "Everything we've done. Everything it leads to this." Alex shouted, and Jamie saw the flicker of fear in his friend's eyes. "You're willing to risk it all? For what? A chance?" The wind howled, swirling debris from the dark corners of the room, brushing against their skin like icy fingers. The shadows thickened, threatening to engulf them whole. "You're both fools." The ghostly figure laughed, malice dripping from every word. "Sacrifice or doom, it's the same to the house." In a moment of clarity, Jamie felt heat flood his body, blazing through the confusion. "No!" he cried, summoning courage from deep within. "We can be stronger than our past." Suddenly, the book burst forth with blinding light, illuminating the chamber like a beacon. The voice that had guided them quaked under the brilliance. "Dare you challenge the ancient?" Light filled Jamie's heart as he raised the book high, trembling but resolute. "Let us fight for it all, together." Outside, thunder cracked, shaking the walls, while inside, whispers morphed into screams, clashing like thunderheads rumbling toward a storm. The moment split like lightning, razor-sharp and instant. Jamie turned to Alex. "You ready?" In that instant, the decision was made, and there was no going back. They were standing on the edge, ready to leap into chaos. But as they prepared to confront their ancestors' dark legacy, a bone-chilling truth twisted through Jamie's thoughts. What if the true horror awaited on the other side of their defiance? With hearts racing, they plunged into the blinding light, the past clawing after them, demanding its due. And just as the light swallowed them whole, the chilling laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence that promised revelation or ruin. As they vanished into the unknown, questions swirled. Would they emerge stronger, or had they sealed their fate tighter than any ghostly chains? Was the true battle just beginning? They landed hard, the ground shaking beneath them as if the very earth protested their arrival. Blinking against the sudden brightness, Jamie and Alex found themselves in a vast, spectral hall, a twisted reflection of the ancestral home they thought they knew. The walls gleamed, but not with warmth. Instead, they shimmered coldly, alive with swirling shadows that pulsed with every heartbeat. "What is this place?" Alex gasped, dread pooling in his stomach as he took in the sights around them. The once familiar blueprint of their family home morphed into a nightmarish maze, with twisting corridors and doors that writhed like serpents. "I don't know," Jamie murmured, his voice eerily calm, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding them. "But we can't lose focus. We have to find the truth." As they stepped further into the hall, whispers filled the air, echoing the thoughts buried in their minds. The voices shifted, some pleading, others raging, each carrying the weight of their family's history. Caught in a whirlwind of past grievances, Jamie's pulse quickened. Do you hear that? He asked, but Alex only nodded, his eyes darting around, plagued by paranoia. Jamie, why did we come here? Alex's voice wavered, a mix of anger and fear painting his features. This could only bring more trouble. I thought this was our chance. To take back control. Jamie shot back, desperation mingling with anger. The shadows around them thickened, as though feeding off their fear. Suddenly, the center of the hall illuminated, revealing a massive tapestry that depicted a dark history of the Hastings family. Faces twisted in torment, shadows creeping into their souls. In the middle, a figure cloaked in dark fabric, the gaunt man from the void, loomed with a wicked grin. Distrust and despair, my dear Hastings. He bellowed, his voice a haunting melody intertwined with madness. Can you not see? You are bound not just by blood but by choice. Jamie's throat tightened at the chilling realization. Know this isn't right. We can change our fate. With a flick of his wrist, the ghastly figure summoned the tapestry to life. Screams erupted from the scenes woven into the threads, pulling Jamie and Alex closer. They were forced to witness the treachery, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, all the sins of their lineage played out in vivid horror. Amidst the cacophony, Jamie felt something stir within him, a spark of recognition. No, stop! He yelled, trying to block out the memories. You aren't our destiny. The gaunt man's laughter echoed through the hall, sinister and triumphant. Ah, but you are nothing without these truths. Embrace what you are, or forever drift in the damp shadows of your ancestors' despair. Just as Jamie's hands trembled, suddenly, the whispers morphed into a singular voice, the voice of a child, small yet unwavering. Change it, Jamie. Break the cycle. The sound pierced through the onslaught of anguish, yanking Jamie back into reality. That's it. He shouted, realizing its implications. We have the power to break through this. To fight back against them. Driven by a sudden clarity, Jamie turned to Alex. We need to focus. This is the moment to reclaim our story. But before Alex could answer, the very ground trembled violently, the tapestry unraveling like an old lie, the threads now threatening to ensnare them. No! Screamed Alex, stumbling back as shadows lashed out, seeking to tether them to their fate. Hold on! Jamie yelled, feeling his heart race with flames of resolve. But the terror swelled. With barely a second to react, Jamie grasped Alex's wrist, eyes locked onto his. We'll find a way through this. Together. As the shadows surged, their pulse steadying into a roar, the hall split in two, revealing a dark passage that beckoned them onward. Shadows clawed at their heels, promising to devour them whole. Fueled by desperation and hope, they sprinted down the twisted corridor, not sure what lay ahead, but knowing they had no choice. Would they step into light or deeper darkness? What awaited at the end? But the shadows whispered, you can't escape what? You are. With breathless urgency, they pushed forward, clutching to each other, ready to face whatever storms lingered ahead. The chilling atmosphere of the Hastings estate had transformed, the shadows less tangible now. The oppressive darkness receded, giving way to a flickering light that emanated from the heart of the hall. Jamie and Alex found themselves in a vast chamber lined with portraits, each depicting ancestors with eyes that seemed to follow their every move. But these eyes no longer bore expressions of anguish. Instead, there was a flicker of understanding, as if they knew the brothers had come to reclaim their history. Jamie took a deep breath, lifting his chin as determination surged within him. We can't let fear control us anymore, he said, glancing sideways at Alex, who wore a mix of apprehension and resolve. This is where we break the cycle. The gaunt figure that had haunted them loomed at the far end of the chamber, eyes gleaming with a twisted delight. Ah, the remaining scions of Hastings finally arrived to confront their truth. He bellowed, laughter ringing out like a warped symphony. You believe mere mortals can change the course written for them? It is far too late. No, it's not. Jamie shouted, defiance hardening his voice. You think you hold power over us? We're not bound to repeat the sins of our ancestors. We choose our destiny. The shadows writhed in response, whispering deceit. You still mistake anger for strength. The blood within flows heavy with the weight of what was. But Jamie felt his heartbeat synchronize, thundering with the rest he carried in his soul. Let us show them, Alex said, his energy igniting the atmosphere, forcing the shadows to retreat. With that surge of courage, Jamie stepped forward, Alex close behind. Bound to blood, we are. Jamie declared, lifting the book high, feeling the life within it pulsate with power. But we will not fall into the same trap. Today we reclaim who we are. As the book glowed brighter, the walls seemed to tremble, caught between the shadows and the light. The portraits came alive, their anguished expressions transforming into hopeful ones. Family members whispered words of encouragement, woven memories illuminating the path before Jamie and Alex. Too late to change. The figure howled, but the raw power emanating from the brothers enveloped him, the shadows recoiling, hissing and screeching as if they were in pain. Not if we fight for the future. Alex shouted, holding out his hand to Jamie, forming an unbreakable bond. The energy spiraled between them, a channel of defiance against the house's legacy. Both brothers focused on the history entwined in the walls, seeing visions flicker to life, laughter, warmth, and bonds of love that had been severed. Together, Jamie whispered, we can reshape everything if we take back our birthright. With a collective roar, the energy within the cursed walls reached a fever pitch. The gauzy figure writhed, caught between chaos and the mounting brightness. Stop this! It shrieked, desperation creeping into its voice. Shadows churned and twisted, spiraling out of control, striving to consume everything in darkness, but Jamie and Alex stood their ground, heartbeats matched, breaths synchronized in fierce resolve. We are not afraid. They shouted together, and the light burst forth in a brilliant explosion, consuming the dark figure whole. The scream of the shadows echoed through the hall, vibrating off the walls as the final remnants of ancestral ties shattered. The long-held curse dissolved into vapor, sweeping away like the roiling fog of dawn. As the room settled, silence thickened, wrapping around the brothers. Jamie felt a warmth wash over him, the knowledge that they had rewritten their history. The portraits now beamed, eyes alight with gratitude and hope. What just happened? Alex breathed, looking around in disbelief. It's over, Jamie replied, a wave of relief enveloping him. We broke the cycle. We chose to redefine our story. The atmosphere felt lighter, the once suffocating shadows now receded, leaving a fresh sense of possibility. They stepped closer to the doorway that led back to the estate, leaving behind the dark history that had haunted their family. As they crossed the threshold, the manor seemed to sigh, a gentle shift in weight, accepting a new era for the Hastings. They had faced the darkness and emerged with the light of truth stronger, united. Shall we? Jamie grinned, looking at Alex, who nodded vigorously, a proud smile lighting up his face. Together, always, Alex affirmed, gripping his brother's shoulder. They walked forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever life awaited them beyond the walls. The night stood still, quiet, but something had changed. The call of a new beginning echoed through the Hastings estate, no longer shackled by the past but alive with hope and potential. But before they left the estate behind, Jamie looked back one last time. Thank you, he whispered into the empty air, feeling the spirits of their ancestors look on. Only with their strength could they have achieved this freedom, and so, they stepped into the dawn, hearts entwined, leaving behind a legacy that was completely theirs to write from this moment forward. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I need to hear your reactions and theories about this ending in the comments section. Flood it with your thoughts. And you must share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. True fans know the difference that makes.